Here we're going to take a look at the Rotary Evaporator. The Rotary Evaporator is a piece of equipment that we use to boil off solvents while being able to do it at lower temperatures than we would need to under normal circumstances. There's three main pieces to the Rotary Evaporator. On the right, we have a chiller. This chiller has a solution of antifreeze and water, and it's cooled, as you can see over here. Currently it's at -16. It'll go down to about -20. That solution that's in there will come through these tubes and into this condenser. That way, when we boil our solvent will be in the gas phase. It will hit these cold coils in the condenser and drop down into this collection flask. In terms of operating the chiller, that will be turned on at the start of any lab period where we're using it, and you will not need to operate it at all. On the left here is the vacuum pump. The Rotary Evaporator works by reducing the temperature or the pressure, which reduces our boiling point. And then we have the Rotary Evaporator itself. So to demonstrate how to use it, I have a solution here of acetone with some benzoic acid dissolved, and I'll place that on the Rotary Evaporator. And so I've done that there. We attach it to this piece, which is known as a bump guard. So our solution that's in our round bottom flask should never be more than about half full. If we overfill this solution, it can do what's known as bumping and get up into here. We attach it using one of these yellow clips. These are known as Keck Clips. We use a yellow one here because that matches the size of the glassware. Up at this joint, we actually have a larger joint size, and so that's why we've used one of these green Keck Clips. But this piece, the bump guard, unless your material actually gets into it, is not something you would need to remove. But that's the bump guard, and you'll notice down at the bottom here, there's holes here. So if your solution does happen to get up into the bump guard, all you need to do is remove the green Keck Clip. You'll stand the bump guard straight up, and the solution can be washed straight back into your flask through those holes. In order to use this, there's a switch down here. We'll turn that on. There's also a switch back here for the water bath. We can turn that on. And now we'll press this button to turn the vacuum on. Up here, if we push this knob in, that will cause our flask to start rotating, and we can make it rotate, less or more. Once we have it rotating, we can close this valve, which puts our system under vacuum. Now, because we're pulling a vacuum on this, our acetone, which normally boils up in the 50 to 60 degrees Celsius range, you can see just sitting at room temperature, we can already see liquid starting to come off. And so it ends up being a pretty drastic difference in boiling points by putting them under vacuum. But we can go even a step further and put our water bath on. It says off right now, so we push that to turn it on, and then turn the knob to set the temperature. So I've set it at 30 degrees. We will rarely, if ever, need it hotter than that. And then if I grab this handle, I can lower the solution down into the water bath. If you ever need to refill this water bath, you should do it only with deionized water. But as you can see, if I go back over here, our acetone is starting to boil off rather quickly. We've started to accumulate a fair amount of it in our collection flask. Now, because this was a solution of benzoic acid in acetone, if we give this a few more minutes, what we'll see is that all of the acetone will boil off and we'll be left with just the benzoic acid in our flask. Going to pull this out for a moment. You can already see in relation to where we started that most of our acetone has boiled off. And up here around the top you can see this white solid. That's as the acetone is evaporating, some of the benzoic acid is starting to come out of solution. As we continue to see our solution boiling off here, you can see that we're starting to accumulate more and more benzoic acid up here at the top. You can also see we've collected more of our solvent over here. It's important that we're condensing the solvent as it boils off. Otherwise, the solvent would get sucked directly into our vacuum pump, and over time that would cause damage to our pump. Finally, we've reached the end. We know we're at the end because you can see there's no more solvent left in here, and we can also see over here our rate of collecting acetone has basically decreased to nothing. When you're done, and the order is important here, you always stop this by venting here first. Once you hear that sound change, you can turn off your pump. Raise it up out of the water bath. Turn off the water bath. Turn off the rotation. And then take your flask so that it's ready for the next person to use.